Alrighty. Well, welcome everybody. We're going to talk about the basics of the Viewsonic panel today. Feel free to add any questions you have in the chat. Sean is going to be moderating for me, so I make sure that I am on top of questions that you may come up during this. So as you can see, I am presenting a Google slide directly to my Viewsonic board right now, and I'm sharing the tab. Yeah, this is all stuff that I'm not an expert at, but I was told I need to add this to. So, Sean, if you want to kind of jump in to explain what this has to do with Viewsonic panels, that'd be great.
Sure, Zach. That's the Edina Learning Framework, and there are a variety of areas of focus in that framework. And now let's get back to the Viewsonic training.
Perfect. Awesome. So the first thing that you're going to want to do when you get a Viewsonic interactive panel is learn how do I turn it on. Pretty simple. Down in the lower right-hand part of the board, there is a power button. You can see it on the arrow, but we're going to move right back on. So this is the control panel. That is the exact area of that lower right portion of the board with all the buttons. Things that you're going to use all the time is going to be your power button that obviously turns it on and off. The other thing that you'll use, home button, that brings you to the embedded player home. So I'm going to click on that button, and you guys are going to disappear off my screen. I'm going to click on the home button here. So as you can see via the camera, if you click that little pin button, you'll see this nice and big. You'll see that this is kind of the welcome screen of the board. The home button is what gets you there. If you want to get back into your PC, you'll notice that there is an HDMI 1 icon in the lower left. If I go ahead and click that, it'll take a few seconds, but it will switch right on back over to my PC. What I use quite a bit is the gear icon, which is the settings button. If I click on that gear, it brings up the input menu. This allows you to get to the embedded player or the welcome screen, and HDMI will get you to your PC. Again, and then the rest is kind of self-explanatory. You have volume buttons right there, volume up, volume down. These USB ports, you probably won't use too often. If you want to explore them, go ahead and ask Sean and I, and we can kind of explain what those do. So what is on this input menu? When I click on that gear button, if I actually click it, you'll notice that there is volume control and screen brightness right here. That's an easy way to do that. You don't have to go into a menu setting. Just click on that gear and you can kind of mess around with that. This eye care button kind of turns everything yellow. It takes away that blue light, just like those blue light glasses. I don't recommend using it in the classroom. It does make things a little hard to see if you're in the rear part of the room. So we're going to open that back up and turn it off. The rest of that is stuff that you probably won't use. You'll never use the AV connection, never use the VGA connection. So just disregard those things even exist. Also, kind of two ways to get to that gear icon. So you can either click the gear icon in the lower right, or if you have a board, you might have kind of figured this out. But if you swipe up from the bottom, it brings up that same gear icon, that same input menu. The only issue that I've noticed and seen with that kind of swipe up method is it's inconsistent. If you don't do it perfectly, it won't work. So I recommend just go down to that kind of that control panel area and click from there. So we are actually going to swap over into the My View Board app here, which we'll kind of go through how to get onto it a little bit later. But I want to show you that my same Google Slides that I was showing you in Google, let's share that tab. So this is showing you that the same Google Slides that were in my other tab are now on the Viewsonic platform. So we're gonna move on through pages to get to our selected page.
And I'm going to jump in right here and just point this out that this is an account that's available that you can get started with even before your board is installed. So this is the web version. The slide deck that I pasted into this is the basics, and so it has some of the setup things. And then there is, in that Schoology course, the web version slide deck as well. So it's important to know that you can begin to access this software on the web before the board's installed. So you could actually get started with this as an instructional tool.
Yeah, and it is web-based, so you can access it on Google Chrome or your Chromebooks. You can access it on the iPad. You can also access it on the PC that's in your room. So it's kind of ambiguous. It's great that you can use it anywhere. So I do recommend exploring that as you go. So the next thing we are going to talk about is the toolbar, which is a toolbar that is built in to the Viewsonic board. It is always active. You can always access it. You'll notice on the right side of these boards, there are two little arrow icons. On the left side, it kind of disappears. On the right side, it will always be there. It kind of tries to read what's on the screen to make it most viewable. So you'll see that this gear icon showed up when I clicked. This is another place where you can go home. You can go back to the welcome screen by clicking this button. As you see, it kicks me right on over to the welcome screen. The other kind of button that I think that you'll probably use, there's a lot on there. We won't go through every single one individually. You'll use the pen annotation button. So it's the little pink button that shows up. If you click on that, it brings up the ability to write on your board. Something to note about it is that it writes on an invisible glass layer on top of your screen, which means that anything that you write will stay on the screen until you make it disappear. You are not annotating directly onto the Google slide presentation or the website. You're writing over the top. So what this is good for, your quick annotations. If you're coming up here saying, hey guys, make sure that you go to google.com, and then you're like, that's all I needed it for. I just wanted a little simple call out. I would use this annotation feature for that. I would not use it for if you want to save a document later. That's where the My View Board web base comes in, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. The other feature that you'll probably use within this kind of toolbar section is the freeze screen, which is that little, you'll see it, it's a kind of a teal icon. When you click on that, what it does is it locks this display. You can go back to your PC then and find what you want to bring up before your students come in, or if you just kind of have a welcome slide, but you want to check your email real quick, that's the perfect way to do it. To unlock the system, you just click on this little X button, and it will go back where now you have full access to your system.
So that is the equivalent of the freeze button on the old microphones for your projector that was mounted in the ceiling.
Correct. There is a freeze button on the actual Viewsonic remote itself. However, it acts a little bit different. So I do recommend, if you want to freeze your screen within this system, to go ahead and use the touch feature to do so. The last one that I'll kind of just briefly go over is there's a little More Tools button. That kind of has your spotlight features and your timers, things like that, kind of like your old Promethean software and Smart had. It had all those kind of like built-in tools. They're all right there. So if I were to click on the timer, a timer comes up. You can set it to whatever you want. We talked about the welcome screen and what that is. So we'll go there just so I can kind of go over what on this welcome screen are you going to be using on a probably daily or first, you're probably going to use the browser every now and again. That's a great way to bring up quick YouTube videos that maybe you hadn't already preloaded. You could click on that browser. It brings up a natural browser where you can kind of search for those type of things. I click the home button again to get right on back. The next one you might use is what's called this VBoard Lite, which is actually going to be on the next slide. VBoard Lite is a very simple whiteboard. Again, this is something that I would use if you don't plan on saving the things you're writing on it. So it's a great thing for like having kids come in and share their ideas, or if you just want to make quick notes like you would on your normal whiteboard that you're going to erase at the end of the day. So think of this as your replacement for a regular whiteboard, something that you're going to get rid of or trash or take a picture of. This is a great way to do that. We'll talk about all these, or you can just explore them on your own. They're pretty simple. Pen features, eraser, delete all. Go ahead and explore on that slideshow and explore on your board, and you'll find out more about those.
I just want to make a point, and I can't tell if I can hear myself anymore. Oh, there I am. So whenever you switch to that embedded player, you can. I couldn't hear myself in this room anymore because I was no longer being broadcast. So the point that I wanted to make was you can go to that browser in the launcher, but that is a simplified version of what you get in your computer. So while it's nice because it's there, I would recommend sticking with your desktop computer and using the full version of Chrome that's built in or that's installed on your workstation.
Yeah, I totally agree. The more you can do on your PC or the workstation you have plugged in, the better. Then you don't have any weird audio issues that come up. Try to stay on your PC as much as possible. So this is kind of a couple slides that go over that embedded player digital whiteboard feature. So we're just going to click on through there. So something that I get asked a lot is, how do I get my Google Slides to work well with this Viewsonic? And there's a couple things that I do recommend doing. One of those is invest in that invest your time downloading the distraction-free mode. It's a free extension, and all that distraction-free does. So we're going to share my Google, and we're going to exit out of presentation mode. If you can see, it's kind of got all this extra stuff on the sides. If you download that distraction free, there's a little dot or a little box icon that pops up that if you click on, it gets rid of those distraction free or all those distractible items. So you don't have toolbars, yet everything on this slide is still drag and droppable and editable. So this kind of is a quick way around the need to come up with new lessons where you can just use your Google Slides. You open it up into this distraction-free mode, and you can drag pictures, you can drag math blocks or kind of whatever you're thinking about. So we're going to pop back over to this tab. So distraction-free mode, I recommend going to get it as soon as you can. Just put it on your device. Even if you never think you're going to use it, you may.
And I just posted a link to that extension for your Google Chrome in the chat.
Perfect. So the other thing I wanted to mention is Smart Notebook and Promethean will start losing features in December. We are still going to allow it to be downloaded. You are still going to be able to ask us some questions on it. The one thing that we're trying to stress, December 2020, there is Flash going away. All that Flash is a fancy program that makes certain things work. With Flash no longer going to be supported or being able to update, things will start breaking on your Promethean and Smart Notebook slides. I do recommend, as soon as you can, pulling those out of those specific programs and getting them into your Google platform if possible. You'll still be able to open them. Things just won't work the same. So I do recommend talking to the tech pair in your room or just sending a ticket to support at Edina Schools. If you need help, we will send you documentation. It's super, super simple to get those Smart Notebook files into Google. So we'll kind of go over some questions. I don't know if there has been any. We'll go over questions, and then we will kind of talk a little bit more about this web version of Whiteboard. No questions, Sean?
None that I'm seeing at the time. So let's go ahead and jump into some of the features in this. Oh, someone was going to talk. Oh, all right, go ahead. I'll make sure that this link for attendance is included as well.
Perfect. So we're going to add a blank slide real quick so I can kind of talk about the tools in this web version of my view board. So to get to my view board, all you will do is you will come up here.
Switch the tab.
What was that? Thank you, Sean. So what I'm doing is I am going to type myviewboard.com. And what you will do is you will click sign in, and you already have accounts created, so no need to hit sign up. You're going to click sign in and then sign in with Google. Mine already loaded because I'm already on the MyViewBoard software. So once you load, you will see a couple icons that show up. Most of these you will not have. You will have Whiteboard and Classroom. What I'm going to have you do is you will click on Whiteboard. So once you open up Whiteboard, this is what you will see. The first thing that I always like double checking is clicking on this little person icon and making sure that the name, your name, is the one that's showing up there. Sometimes teachers have a tendency to kind of grab this computer real quick, and that might screw up where you're coming from. So before I start anything, I always look to make sure that profile is mine and not somebody else's. And what you'll kind of notice down here is that the Google Drive icon is showing. What that is saying is my Google Drive is tied to my Viewsonic account. So now it is all integrated and they all play really nicely together. Alrighty, that's kind of all you'll need to worry about. Right toolbar. It's called the settings toolbar. You can go ahead and explore there. There's like standard fonts and things like that that you can change. Not much living in that zone. Alrighty, so we're going to pop over to the main toolbar. The main toolbar, think of it just like any other program that you've probably used. If you've used Smart, Active Inspire, any of those kind of have this same toolbar look. So you have your pen icon. That is what you're probably going to use the most within this. You can change your thickness, and I'm going to say this wrong, opacity. I think that's right. Sean and I constantly are asking if that's right. With different colors, things like that. Go ahead and select a green pen because we're in Edina, and you'll be able to write in that green pen. If you wanted to change the thickness, over to thickness, and you can change the thickness of that green pen. Awesome, sweet. Go crazy, change colors, do all you want. Now let's talk about this eraser feature.
I'm going to jump in real quick.
Yes.
And just for the teachers that are here, just to point out that what we actually have set up right now is the document cameras that are coming in late October. And so this is an example of what it might look like in your classroom to do some live instruction with kids at home. So you can see you're looking at a screen where he's presenting and you can see what he's doing on the board, but then you're also looking at the projected version of him standing in front of the board. So I just wanted to point out that this is the setup that we'll be working with in your classroom in order to be able to connect the kids at home to what's going on. So I think that this whiteboard tool that's available that we're going over right now is just another one of those really useful tools in your toolbox to help with this. And I do like when you tap one of the things that I learned about on this is if he taps the pen icon again, oh, he already did that. Yeah. So a lot of these things have a double tap. So if you tap them twice, you get to an extended menu, which is probably what he was going to talk about before I.
Yes. So if you want to get to the secondary menu, when you tap pen, it goes to the last used pen that you did. It usually defaults to a black pen. But if you don't like the black pen and you want to use a fancy color, you just click on that again and all those tabs will come up. Same with the eraser. When you click on the eraser once, it turns into the kind of old school scrub eraser. If you tap again, it gives you this little kind of cloud icon eraser. What that cloud icon eraser is a circle to get rid of. So if I circle this whole entire thing and I don't close it up, it works on the web version. On other versions, you have to completely close off that circle. So again, if I'm writing my name here and I'm like, oh, I accidentally spelled it wrong, which is common. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to circle that K, and I'm going to rewrite it. So that's kind of a really quick feature that you can do is double tap any of these icons to get the secondary menu. So shape, same thing. I want to see what shape I was going to do. I was going to be drawing a white square. Obviously, I don't want to green because we're in Edina. And I don't want a square, I want a circle. And these shapes act a little differently, so you don't, it's not like a box type thing. It's a like click and you can expand. So again, shapes go crazy. There's a bunch of different options within that secondary menu, all the way up to 12 corners, which I'm not even going to try, but I know that it's a lot. You got octagons, so you can make stop signs. I don't even, what is a 12?
It's a 12-agon.
A
Hey,
12-agon.
Christy has a question. Does
Yeah,
the
Christy, go ahead.
does the back of the hand eraser thing work? That works like on the Clever Touch?
So on the web version, no. So on the web version, there's no scrub. On all the other whiteboarding apps, so if you were to be using the Windows version, yes. And if you were to be using the one that's built in on the whiteboard, yes. And you
So
can,
like if I was just writing on a web page or something, then I could just use my hand. Like if I was just using the pen.
yeah, so if I brought up that pen and I'm doing the circle thing up here,
Yes.
it does work still. It's with when you're within the app, that does not work.
Okay. Thank you.
So if I'm writing, can you see that? I can. Well, you won't be able to see it because I'm writing on the invisible. Did you?
All right, hold on.
No, I saw it.
Sorry,
I
I digress.
Do that again.
Perfect. So if I'm
I saw
writing,
Oh yeah.
I can erase. But that's because I'm in that layer menu thingy. We'll just
Yep.
call it that. Super official name for it.
Just-in-time annotations.
Yes. I like that. Just-in-time annotations. Ooh. Alrighty.
Yeah.
So then a lot of the other thing so that's kind of the main toolbar. You have your page switcher like normal. Think of it just like you had for all your other fancy schmancy whiteboarding softwares. You have a page selector, so you can go to a certain page. I'm going to add a blank page again, and I'm going to close down that page selector. So,
Hey Zach, I have a question.
yes, what's your question, Sean?
Well, that background is white. Is there any way I could change that background?
There is. So down here, there's this little image icon that if you click on, there's all these other fancy options. Organizers, grids, lines. A lot of our elementary teachers ask about lined paper. I'm going to apply this to the page. Wow, look at there. I have some lined paper. Oh, but I don't really want lined paper. I want a map of South America. Well, looky there. So there's a lot that are built in. There's also just different colors that you can select. But I do recommend exploring that, opening up that file and just kind of see what you like. You can always create a Google Doc that shows you where to go for certain images, because obviously there is a bunch in a lot of these. So find your favorites, use them. You can apply them either to the page or apply them to the entire slide deck. Just know that if you put like a Google slideshow in here, which we'll show you how to do soon, that it does change the background of those Google slides, which if you collect all. So I would recommend doing it per page if you have a Google slideshow imported into your doc.
Can I change the background color of the slides? Like if I just wanted like, I don't know, a Edina green or something?
You can. Down here in color, you could click Edina green, apply to this page. Do you want to remove the background image? Yes, I do. Now I have Edina green. The other thing that I just found out, which is kind of nifty, there's also a Google Drive button. So within here, you could type in, I don't know, I'm trying to think of something that I have images of. I don't know. But you can type in, if you know what image it is, you can type it in. I don't know what I have in there for image files, so I'm a little worried. I'm worried. All right. Don't ask me why I'm worried. We're going to bring out a white background just because I am very basic. I like my Starbucks. Lost my train of thought. Where am I going with this? Okay, Google Slides. How do I get Google Slides to show up in this my Viewboard web version? Go ahead, Sean.
Let's before that, one of the advantages that we have here when Zach showed that he was actually logged in is that you can save these sessions. So the differentiator between that one that's built in to the board itself that we said is a replacement for your dry erase board, digital dry erase board, is you're not going to save those. It's a pain in the butt to save them. But this one, you can actually just click the folder and then you can save these and they'll save in your Google Drive. And that means if they save in your Google Drive, then you can open them from your Google Drive as well. So this is with your colleagues. You could create a shared folder and put these in there as you create them. And similar way to begin to share back and forth on some of these lesson design tools.
Yeah, and how you do that is the QB file, the .qb is the editable version of this. PDF is the standard. It comes out as a non-editable file. So if I were to hit export to QB, I'm going to click on Google Drive. You'll see that it has a stock place to store them. But if I wanted to, I can go back here and save them within a folder. So I'm going to save that into Viewsonic training. And I am going to save it into here. And now that's saved into my Viewsonic training slide decks. I can go back and open that up anytime just by going here, clicking open, Google Drive, and find it via the Google Drive Find app. All right. So how do I import a Google slideshow so it shows up as multiple slides within my Viewboard software? I click on what's called the Magic Box. The Magic Box has a ton of features. Right now, we're just going to talk about feature. So as you can see, there are certain files that do not import. Google Docs. So regular, it does not like coming into this, but slideshows, it loves. So I want to import. Let's import my training on, oopsies. Let's import my training on the web.
While he does that, this is what I want to talk about is many of the files that were converted from Smart or Promethean were converted as Google Drive files, slides. And so now with the addition of Pear Deck is one way to power up those slides built right into your Google tool. And then this ability means really adding increased flexibility and interactivity to those Google slide decks that are already there. So you really have 3 ways that you can use Google Slides now. The way with the distraction-free mode to be able to click and drag in things that you've already made. Pear Deck, which is an amazing tool that allows you to create formatives and some interactive elements with the students. And then in my Viewboard, the web version, you can add them there too to add your annotations. The one thing to bring them in here, it's going to freeze your individual items. It treats it like an image file. And so you won't be able to move around the marbles that are on the side or some other things. You could add them back in, but it's just something to know that this is a real good one for like the math workbook ones that you're doing and ones that you actually want to write on. But you could go ahead and build in some marbles into this and make it interactive that way as well. But just wanted to point out those sort of 3 enhancements to Google Slides beyond just the regular slide deck.
Yeah. So this comes up after you click on your slide deck that you want to drag into, and it asks you, do you want to import all of them? You can unselect certain slides if you don't. A lot of times if you built a slideshow, you want it all. So you're going to come right on over here. You're going to click the import button. And there is a maximum, it looks like. So we are going to go cancel, and I'm going to open up a new file. and I'm going to import this slide deck.
I think the maximum is 25 slides per deck. So it's just something to think about as you use these things together, is that 25 is going to be your maximum number of slides. I believe that that's correct.
So now you can see that it is here to import. I will click on import. It takes a little bit of time depending on what the slideshow is. But now you can see that my slide deck popped up and we are now good to go. So I can edit over these files. So Sean said, remember that they come in as image files. So this black box was a YouTube video at some point. Obviously now it is no longer a YouTube video and it's an unclickable link. So Sean said, well, you could always add those things back. Well, you can. So if I came over to the magic box and I click on this YouTube button, I'm going to bring up my pop-up keyboard and I want it to be a cat video. So I'm going to click cat, click enter, and I want this baby cat video onto this slideshow. And I want to make it bigger, and I want to drop it right over where that video was. So if you can tell, I can't click on this video anymore. This is currently in an editable mode. How, if I wanted to present, and this is probably too far, and we'll talk about the fact that I'm training a little quickly right now. But if I clicked on this little presentation button, the sides turn black, and now I can go ahead and click on the video of the cat.
And that was a common experience with the other interactive whiteboard softwares, is that you have a design mode and a present mode. Most of the time, you're just going to live in the design mode. And these are the things where if you have the video already embedded in the Google slideshow, I don't know that you want to take the extra time to continue to update them into this. So just, think about that. It's just something to be aware of, and that is an option. What you notice is it worked pretty quick in this situation at this time. But anytime we're drawing from one website to another, it could take a little bit of time. So just something to be aware of as well. It's working really well right now.
Yeah, so obviously that magic box holds a key to a lot of various tools. Explore it. That's my biggest recommendation, is when you have a little bit of time down, which I know you don't have much of right now, go ahead and try dragging different file types in and seeing how they interact with this software. I think you'll find that it's pretty similar to things that you've used in the past, with some feature upgrades that might be intriguing for you, such as the bring in from Google Drive.
I want to, one more menu that I want to make sure people can see. So if as I said, these will get brought in as image files. So if Zach taps the image, the actual, just go ahead and tap it. And then there's a giant lock upper left-hand corner. And that's because that was a locked image. And so now when you click that lock, now we can start to change some of the elements in it. You can change where it is on the, layers. You've got layers. You've got those other options as well. And so again, the key here with experiencing this particular set of tools is tapping things twice will open up that secondary menu and will allow you these different design tools and different editing tools.
Yeah, so if you see, I took that image file that it pulled in and I kind of made it small. And what that would allow is I can now pop over here and write right next to them. If I needed to make that image file, I'm going to hit my select tool. And now I can make it a little bit bigger for students to see. And then I can make it disappear and go away easily as well. That's kind of the basics of the web board. So I'm not going to go too much farther in. If there's any questions that you guys have of things that I've shown you, I'd love to answer them now, because your questions might be the same ones that we're going to get a week or two down the road.
Yeah, so we'll open up for questions now and see if there's anything that you're wondering about that we can help answer.
When do I get my board? Just kidding.
That's actually a good question. You will be receiving an email within the next week or two that will outline exactly when you are getting your board at Countryside, Highlands, and Concord. So that's actually a really good question, Christy.
Thank you.
And just so you're aware, Christy, you can actually use this myviewboard.com on your Clever Touch right now.
Okay, I was just using it on my other computer here at home, playing with it. So
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, and your Clever Touch will work the MyViewboard software the same way that this one is doing right now.
Yep, but it's an advantage of this particular tool is that it is web-based, and so that means if you need to be isolated, right? Because that's going to happen. You can still access this teaching tool while you're at home. So it's a nice bridge. I like it. I like web-based tools because it doesn't really matter what device you're accessing it on. You can use it wherever you're at. Okay, well, here's what I would say is that we're going to, Zach and I are coming up now that things have sort of settled down and we're getting into a semblance of a rhythm of what school looks like this year, is we'll be coming out to this more hands-on training over the next couple of weeks. So if you have specific questions or you're wondering about something, I would be happy to work with you. And Zach has been an amazing partner in all of this, as well as your media specialists who have been an amazing partner in this, and the tech paras. So that's a lot of help to get this up and running. My experience with any of this stuff is we're going to have a little bit of time where things are unsettled in the beginning. We're going to learn a lot. But as we've knocked down the problems, the experience with these has increased, has gotten better and better. And so I really do think this is going to be a nice upgrade from the ceiling mounted projectors that we had before these were installed.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for showing up and training
you
with
can turn on your cameras and give Zach a nice round of applause, you know, the old applause, because it's great to have him. You don't have to, too, but that's
I have
great.
to do it too.
Thank you. Thank you, Zach.
Thank you. I was hoping for the unicorn head, Christy, but
it's at school.
Oh. Well, thank you. And if you do have any questions,
I have a dog unicorn costume.
Oh, you know what? One thing is I want to make sure that you have the link
to myviewboard.com.
No, the link to attendance sheet. You had it on your slide deck. Will you go back to your slide deck? Go back a couple pages. Oh, you had it there.
Oh, here we go. I'll share it.
So I just want to make sure that you get attendance for being here. We'll continue to offer these every other week. And again, as soon as this video is done being processed in Google Meet, I'll have that posted into the Schoology course. I'm just going to go ahead and repost the link to where these materials will be available too, in case you missed it. So there is the Schoology course that this video will be posted in, and it has the slide decks that Zach has put together for all of these trainings. So yeah, that's it. Lots of support. Thanks, everybody. Have a great break.